Hello, everyone. We are live here on Explaining the Unexplainable, and I've got my amazing co host, Bishop Dr. Joshua Sparks. How are you tonight, Bishop Dr. Joshua?
If I got any better, I'd be a twin. You know why? Because we've got Dr. Kelly with us tonight.
Yes. Hi,
She
Dr.
looks marvelous. She looks marvelous. May I say you look marvelous tonight, Dr. Kelly?
Oh, thank you so very much. I worked really hard all day for this.
You guys are so cute. I think I should go get my flannel shirt.
No, you're
Anyway,
okay.
all right, I'll just
It's
stay in
too
my
hot where
flannel.
you're at. It's too
Yeah,
hot where you're at.
later we'll do flannel. Well, I'm so excited, and I apologize for not having the time zone thing right. I did that this afternoon on the other show. The time was messed up, but it's just this is the first and last time it will happen. We know what time we go on next time. So that's a good thing. And we are so happy to have our Dr. Kelly back. Big hug. And she's so humble. Oh my God. Wait till she hears what Bishop Josh was going to say about her. But I posted that she's phenomenal, Joshua, because like I think that she right now has the record for more paranormal shows on than anybody in the world at one time. TV, radio, the whole shebang. And I mean, what a phenomenal path. She like carved through the paranormal mystery of the world and did this. I think it's amazing. So I can hardly wait to hear what you have got to say about her tonight.
Well, I could probably talk for 30 minutes just talking about all the things that she's done. And, she done every bit of that with both arms tied behind her back. If you just think when she really puts, she's kind of slacked down, backed off a little bit, ain't you, Dr. Kelly? Backing off just a little bit, maybe?
Just a smidge.
Okay.
Just
Well, I want to welcome, go ahead, Mercedes.
Oh no, I'm just laughing.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just laughing at you guys.
It's like we're naturally funny. We can't help it.
Yeah, I know.
Well, take it away. Take it away. I love your intros.
Well, I apologize. I still have the cough a little bit. It's getting better, Dr. Kelly. But I want to welcome everyone to Explaining the Unexplainable, heard all across the nation and around the world in all 24 time zones, where we dare to walk the line between the seen and the unseen, the natural and the supernatural, the scientific and the spiritual. I'm one of your hosts, Bishop Joshua. Joined with me tonight is my insightful co-host, Mercedes Lucke Benedict. And tonight we dive deep into the extraordinary with a guest whose life's work bridge mystery with meaning. Our guest this evening is a woman whose intellect and curiosity have taken her from the classroom to the cosmos of human experience. Dr. Bill is not only an accomplished educator and author, but also a seasoned talk show host, intuitive medium, and podcaster who has explored the edges of paranormal phenomena with clarity, compassion, and courage. Dr. Kelly is a highly respected voice in the world of metaphysical and paranormal research. And with a background that spans education, psychology, and communications, she brings both scientific structure and spiritual insight into her investigations. She's the host of the acclaimed podcast, Paranormal Encounters, where she's interviewed countless individuals about extraordinary events. And Mercedes and I both have had the privilege of being on that show and other platforms that she has as well. From near-death experiences to unexplained visitations, giving a platform to those who've encountered the unexplainable. Her work's been featured in books, documentaries, national broadcasts. Dr. Kelly is known for her calm, grounded approach to subjects that often stir fear or skepticism. Whether discussing psychic phenomena, energy fields, human consciousness, she invites her audience to expand their perception, not to convince, but to explore. So tonight, yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that right. Tonight, we're going to peel back the layers of mystery, not just to ask what's there, what's out there, but what's within us that allows us to perceive it. So, Dr. Kelly, it's an honor to have you on Explaining the Unexplainable.
Well, good Lord, Bishop Joshua. For a moment there, I had to sit back and go, who on earth is he talking about? I'm just like, my God, I think we should
Well,
break into our comedy act right now. Okay,
No,
let's
that's
get this over
you.
with.
That is you.
well, I can't help it. I'm talking about my dear friend, and you're very, very intelligent. You have so many wonderful qualities about you that, I'm thankful for your voice in the world, and I'm thankful that you are a force to be reckoned with.
Well,
And
and I can actually say the same for you and Mercedes. By the way, Joshua, you, I believe, are on this week on one of my podcasts. You're up again, as they say. I've got 5 of them, and yes, I do have 5 advanced degrees. But believe it or not, back in my day, we didn't have where I was from a parapsychology degree at all. I would have had to have gone out to California for that, and it was too expensive and everything, and my interest lied in that even a long time ago. Now we still, where I'm at, really don't have that degree, but I do notice other universities trying to chime in a little bit more on that aspect. And so I'm just really glad. I mean, I've watched this field for a long time, and it's finally turning in a way where, yes, it still scares people, by the way. I can hardly bring it up. I can quiet a room down in about 30 seconds just by saying what I do. I just did it again at a incredibly large conference that went on my husband's behalf this past weekend. And if you could have heard a pin drop, literally, with just bringing up even one little iota about it. But I trudged through, and I held my head high, and I just went and I just said, this is just the way it is, and I know it to be. And that's kind of, yep. So here we are, all 3 of us together. So I guess we can close up now and go out and have a drink together. So,
yeah, well, I've got mine here. Mercedes, you have yours.
I got my Fiji water.
yeah, that's
Mm.
right.
I've got my coffee.
Yep.
So
I don't know how you drink coffee this late at night.
I can drink it. I can drink it 24 hours a day, and it doesn't make me at all wired. It doesn't wake me up. So
Wow.
my
Well,
body's immune to it.
I guess. So, Dr. Kelly, tell us about how is it? How are you doing? How are you doing with all the stuff you've been doing? You've done all these events. I mean, just I don't know, just kind of dive in and tell us how you started this path of carving through all and having all these shows. I mean, it's brilliant.
Well, I think I'm asked that now as probably the number one question. And usually it's twisted with a, what are you thinking? Yep. What am I thinking? And then I would go to bed at night and I would say to myself, what on earth am I thinking? Well, I have a straight jacket, by the way, everybody, sitting in my closet, just waiting for me with a big smile on its face. I would say, if I had to give you the short and skinny, for those of you who are meeting me for the very first time, that I was silent back and around, for many years, I was silent. Okay. And because I worked in law for several years, and I also worked as a college professor for about 20 years. And even though my campus was very, very haunted, and things were happening constantly in my classroom because I'm a beacon, this was a taboo subject that you just did not lightly bring up anywhere at any time. It was really difficult sometimes with the things that went on. And so in 2016, I decided that I couldn't hold in my experiences anymore. And so what I did is,
Oh no. Uh-oh.
Oh, we're having a glitch.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I was on the edge of my seat.
Maybe if we give her just a second, it may come back on because sometimes that happens.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe we'll have to text her and tell her that she needs to log out and come back on.
yeah. I will do that right now. So
Okay.
You talk
Well,
about something important while I'm doing
okay, well, while you're doing that, I just want to say that I know that I've heard people talking about there being an increased in UFO activity. I actually recorded a new video the other night. I actually seen a UFO last night moving through the air, gliding through the air so gracefully. Um, and I know a lot of people thinks that's crazy. I would have believed the same thing had I not seen it for myself. During COVID, we started to see them. My dad, big time concern, big time.
I'm
Uh,
here.
oh,
Oh,
there you are.
okay, good.
Okay,
Did
well,
you
you're
hear
right
me?
on me.
Did you hear me at all? You're all squirreling around for a moment there.
Nope.
No, you
And
just
then,
froze.
and then all of a sudden we all went black. And then I'm like, okay, so are we back in? Is
Yes.
everyone still listening here? Are we
I was
still
on the
moving?
edge of my seat. You were
Oh,
about
no.
to say what was happening. I'm like, oh,
You're so funny, Mercedes, for God's sakes. Anyway, I don't know where I ended, where if people heard me, but I'm going to backtrack just a little bit here. So basically, I worked in law, and basically, I worked as a college professor, and I couldn't hold my experiences in much more. So then in 2016, I decided to write my first book and journal out some of these experiences that I was having, because at that point, I realized that I didn't think I was that crazy or off the beaten path. And when I published my first book, then I got noticed by some pretty big people, and they had me on their show. And then all of a sudden, that led to my first show. And then that also led to where we are now: 5 podcasts, 12 books, a movie in the making, other books as part of it, a lot of paranormal type influences here and everything, and magazine cover, being on Coast to Coast with George Norrie. I could go on and on and on about all the good things that have happened to me, and I'm just wondering at this point where it's going to take me next. I'm thinking about maybe next year. We'll see. I'm still thinking about this, and I have ideas of maybe having my first documentary myself in some way, and producing something along that lines, and getting some type of a film out there that involves paranormal people. But that's in the works, and that's something for next year. All right, that was a short and skinny. I hope everybody was able to hear that. So
Heard it
that
quite well.
yeah, and I think that I think what you do, how you do your work is brilliant. And I have to say, like the recent I've watched I watched with Bishop Joshua. His interview is wonderful. But then I don't know, my interview, I was just like it just touched my heart that you actually asked me questions that most people don't talk about. Like we talk about all the other stuff. So I always say that I think this is the best interview I've ever had. I mean, that I got to express myself, you know, in the ways of my work and stuff. So I appreciate you, and I hope everybody watches and listens to all these shows that she's doing. Tell us all the names of them. There's so many of
oh,
them out.
Mercedes, if I knew I was going to be tested tonight, I would have written cliff notes and shoved them under my cuff of my shirt.
All right,
For
it's okay.
God's
Don't
sakes.
worry.
All
You'll
right,
have
in the order of which they came to life, let's put you that way. Paranormal Encounters podcast series is my baby. It's been going on 9-10 years now on a network. We'll start with that one. I also have Haunted Mysteries podcast that's on a new network. I have Paraflix, which is Disembodied Voices. That's on the Paraflix network. I've got Phantasm, which is an audio show that's also on the Para X radio network. And Paranormal Latte, the really big one that reaches everybody in the world completely from corner to corner. That one's also on a big, large network. So 5 podcasts right there.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Wow.
So wow. Okay. And I know you're tired because I'm tired of doing what all the 3 that I am on now. So I can imagine 5. And I know Bishop Joshua's he's doing all his, on his he's doing his is talking
I
all the time.
I got bit by the TikTok bug, and I've had a lot of people I've connected with, and people have invited me to come to their churches, Oklahoma, all over the United States. So it's pretty cool. And I know a lot of these people I don't know, and I know a lot of them have heard me on Dr. Kelly's show. They've heard me on the Unseen Realm. So it's amazing how we can connect with people. Now I've got a pretty cool question I want to ask you. Um, so, and I know that we've talked in detail. Before we done the show, Dr. Kelly and I on her show, we talked for hours, didn't we? We spent several hours just talking and chit chatting, and that was wonderful to get to know her in that way. But I want to ask you this: what were some early experiences that changed the way that you viewed reality?
Yeah. Well, okay. It depends on whether or not we're looking at going back and realizing that some of these experiences actually were not what they seemed at the time. For example, let's start with just a very simple one. So, when I was 3 to 5 years old, I was having visions in my sleep, in my dreams, and then they would come to life on the black and white box TV tube that I grew up with. Instead of watching cartoons, there'd always be a breaking news segment, and they would be essentially showing airplane crashes or assassinations or people getting injured in civil unrest. And after a while, I thought I was causing these things, because for me to get up and go, well, that's really kind of strange as a 5-year-old, why this stuff was happening. Okay, fast forward. I need to fast forward to keep in mind things were happening. This was not discussed back in my day. We didn't even talk about the paranormal, where it's all religion, angel, devil, whatever, that kind of thing. I thought it was my genetics there for a while. I thought that because I had the ability to predict people's behavior at a very young age, things that was going to happen to them, things that, especially from a person to person aspect. Then I thought, well, maybe I have better genes than a lot of other people, and that's why I can do these things. Now, keep in mind, I didn't have anybody to talk to about this stuff. So, fast forward again, and the classmates are bragging about how they've seen a ghost, and I didn't know what a ghost was and all that sort of thing. So I started wishing to see ghosts, and especially on my grandparents' property. And 30 years later, I actually photographed two in a screen window, which I still believe to this day were not tricksters. They were my relatives. I firmly believe that. That's when I learned I was telepathic. So when you're asking me about some significant things that made me change the way I think about this, my first real changer was when the apparition showed up in the screen window, because I also learned I was telepathic, which means that I had said to them the day after I had my film developed, a tornado had ripped through the property. I went over there to take pictures of the house. I did not go inside. I did not see these things visually, but my camera did, and it was very clear. And I show this picture all the time. Went back the next day, said, "You have a message for me." You showed to me in the window. And what they said to me was that the genealogy was wrong. And I said, "What? What are you talking about? Genealogy?" The little girl that showed up in the window, her name was not Lily. Her name was actually Mary. And that's when I learned I could hear something talking to me that wasn't necessarily male or female, but that was my first significant and then I became obsessed. And then when I became obsessed, I had to go to every haunted bed and breakfast on the planet to test my theory. Yes, I know. Crazy. Once you get the bug in you, you can't get rid of it. And then what happens is once you start doing this stuff, it doesn't stop, because you're so open. I can't stop it now. So I've been doing this for a long, long time. Things still come to me. I still have experiences, a variety of different things, from the traumatic to the mild, to the interesting, to the weird. Yeah. So I would say that was my most significant turning point.
Wow. It's like I never hear all of this. I was like, that's like a piece I guess I had missed before. And so one of the experiences that I think is so strange is what happened when you were on your trip, when you and your husband were out of the country. I think it was out of the country, and you were dealing with that car, an automobile. Have you heard about that, Joshua?
Yeah, but I think that our audience needs to hear it as well.
It is something else. Will you share that story? Because that is like what happens to her when she goes around. Things happen.
Yeah. So just about the time I think that everything's done and over with and it's out of its system. My husband and I were in Brussels on May 30th, 31st. We were over there during the May time, the end of May. And it just so happens, and I have to walk people through this story because there's another piece that I don't know if you're aware of, but I'll share it anyway as part of this whole story. In a short version, my husband and I went over. Anyone who's familiar with the Henry Chappelle American Cemetery, that's the World War II cemetery where 9,000 soldiers were buried from all over the place back in the Nazi day. And so my husband's uncle, Vincent, served in that war. He was 27. And this was the second time that we went over to see him while we were in the area. And when we went there, we went to his tombstone. And of course, we're just talking to him like a regular person. But I looked at the tombstone and I said, you know what? I really wish I knew how you died. If you're right here, right in this spot, I wish I knew all these things. And of course, when I put my hand on his tombstone, I electrified, I sizzled, I jolted, I had an electricity kind of jolt come through me. And my husband was about a block away, and I said, wait. And I told him what happened, and he would just kind of shook it off and went on with our day. The next day we went to a World War II war museum in the area of the Netherlands, and they had a lot of the artifacts that they dug up from that war. And so we were going through the museum, and in the end, we went through the gift shop, and there was a harmonica there, and I couldn't get my eyes off this harmonica. It was just speaking to me, and my husband said, "Don't buy that harmonica." And I said, "I can't help it. It wants me to buy it. I don't know why." The shop owner comes over and he shares the story that he acquired the objects from the Nazi opposition in a Nazi store that was miles away. And he claimed that it was not ever used. Well, I don't believe that at all. I didn't believe it at all. It looked pretty new, but you know what? I'm not even quite sure about that. So we brought it out of the the place, and I made a joke. I hope the plane doesn't crash. And then what happened is the next day we were in Brussels and we were going down the alleyway. Anyone who's familiar with Brussels knows these are very narrow alleyways, and you can barely get a car in there at all. If you're there's a hotel right next door there, and this is what happened. So we were walking down the corridor, and basically something caught my attention. The third car was coming in as if it were to drop people off or pick people up, like an Uber type of thing. And I heard all of a sudden, a really weird revving. And we were in the path of this thing, my husband and I, nobody else was. And I turned and I looked over to my left. And when I saw this car, it went rum, rum, really, really loudly. And the guy wasn't even in the car. He was trying to get into the car through the door, but it wouldn't let him. It kept moving and started to drag him. It hit the taxi right in front of him, and it took on a human-like personality, like, get out of my way. And it went around him, kind of swerved around him, and I was directly in the path, and that car looked at me as if it was going to say, "I'm going to kill you." And it shot off like a rocket. Literally, this is no exaggeration. It went room. It was dragging the man. He couldn't stop it. It was probably accelerated to about 85 miles per hour. And it went so fast. And I heard in the back of my head, "Run," and push my husband. So I pushed him and me out of the way to safety against a wall. and the cars, and I yelled out really loud, "It's going to explode. It's going to explode." It smashed into the historical building in my path right in front of me, basically. And it did. All the airbags went off. Boom, 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 like gunshots. And then by the time I turned around in absolute shock, the man who was trying to get into the car had just gotten into it and smashed into the wall with them. So people were running to try to help him. There were apparently 2 people in the car. They were trying to get them out of there, and they just made a complete mess out of the window in front of it and all that sort of thing. That, by the way, was kept out of the papers. I looked for something to explain that situation. It's nowhere to be found. But all I can tell you is that when it saw me, it took on a human personality. There was no driver, and it just shot off right at me as if it wanted to kill me. So I don't know. It's very, very interesting. But I need to fast forward one more element here, which happened just a couple weeks ago. So remember when I put my hand on the tombstone and I said, "I'm so sorry we have to leave you here. Oh my God, no, God, we wish we could take you back with us. I really wish I knew if you're here." Someone contacted my husband, but my husband and I only keep this stuff between us. We never told anybody else this story. And so what happened was all my wishes that I said, "I wish I knew how you died. I wish you knew if you're here," and all this sort of thing. Someone from Kansas actually contacted my husband and said, he sent him a picture and he said, "Is this your uncle, Vincent from World War II?" And my husband went into shock because this was sent to his work. And he's like, he goes, here's a folder. My grandfather was his best friend. Do you have any information that I could have about my grandfather? Which of course we had none. But in that folder, they were secure documents, was how he died, what happened and how he died, where he was buried first, where he was buried second, how the things that went home or went back to his dad, the things that he was buried with, how he looked when he was buried. Every single question I asked was answered very, very strangely in that folder. And we had never talked about this to anybody. It just came right to us. So remember when I sizzled? I believe that might have been him or something talking or being there on behalf of him. I could never tell you what it was or anything. All I can tell you is that whoever saved us or me and pushed my husband out of the way when the car went completely crazy, was that the uncle? Was that something else? Was that protector or guardian angel? I don't know, but all I know is the harmonica and I have been filmed in a movie. So I'm excited to see when that movie comes out. And that was just recently. It's behind glass. It does not like to be touched. And when I touch it, I start to electrify all over again. So I leave it alone and I let it sit there. So anyway, that's the story, including the interesting thing about getting my questions answered by just asking, and here they come. Very, very strange. So I hope that helped you guys.
It's
Wow.
powerful.
I'm
It's
just
very
like
powerful.
blown away. So, I mean, I could just imagine like some entity just got in the car and did that,
Mm-hmm.
and that, wow.
Mm-hmm.
But how in the world did that? How did that's the same person. The information was sent to you. That is just beyond amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That always scared me as a kid. Maximum Overdrive with Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
When the trucks come to life and pinned them in that little gas station or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Transformers, of course, I love Transformers as a kid. And then they made them real on the big movie screen, and that was kind of freaky.
Yeah.
But to think that this object was under the influence of some kind of a supernatural force that wanted to kill you,
Mm-hmm.
and it just it doesn't it doesn't cease to amaze me. When you're talking about the supernatural, the paranormal, it doesn't cease to amaze me at all the things that happens and all the experiences that people have. Um, you know, when we talk though about supernatural, we've got to look at the human side of the supernatural as well. we've got to explore the emotional and psychological aspects of the paranormal. And, you know, I've heard you say several times that the paranormal can be more about the human experience than about the ghost or their phenomena. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Uh-oh. Ah,
Oh, she froze again. No.
frozen. I'll message her.
Okay.
Go
I think
ahead.
this is a very good question because we don't think about the human side of the supernatural. We talk about what we see, but we fail to talk a lot about how it affects us naturally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and even spiritually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something important, and I've heard Dr. Kelly say that often, that the paranormal can be more about the human experience than the ghost or the phenomena. And I'm anxious to hear what she has to say about that, because we've
I
all
think,
seen things.
yeah, we may need to do a prayer for this because we normally don't have where we lose people.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Father,
we
who art in
can't.
heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom
Thy
come.
kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in
In
heaven. Give
heaven,
us this day our
and your
daily bread.
daily bread, forgive
Forgive us
us
our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, and
our
lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom and the
kingdom
power
and
and the
power
glory
and the
forever.
glory forever and ever.
Amen. Father,
Hallelujah.
Spirit.
While we're waiting on her, because we had that I ended up, it was right after my mom had passed away. We lived on property and I ended up getting a haunted car. Oh, well, she's back. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, let me ask you that question again, just in case you didn't hear.
Yeah.
You've often said that the paranormal can be more about the human experience than about the ghost or the phenomena. Can you expand on that?
Well, I don't know. It's really hard to answer that because it's like the experience in and of itself. One of the things that I noticed the most is that I was targeted in that situation. And the thing is can these things take on a personality of their own? I saw it. I actually saw the fear in the man's eyes when he couldn't get in the car being dragged. That was the first thing I noticed. He could not regain control of that car. People would say, well, maybe there was something wrong with the car. No, I don't think there was anything wrong with the car. And then there's that experience in and of itself that you take from that. There's things that I picked up as cues that car, I mean, I only know of one other person that I've heard a story on where she was also she was going to be run down by some kind of, I think it was a truck or something. And that was Lorraine Warren. And when you're very in tune with energies and stuff like that, you don't know always what's really lurking around the corner. You can't be paranoid all your life, wondering what's lurking around the corner. But when these things happen so suddenly, and yet they take on such a human aspect about them, that's the part that I couldn't get over. Is it was almost like seeing this thing, and then knowing that I was being targeted. It wasn't the people in front of us. It wasn't the people behind us. It was mad. It wanted me. And that was the thing that was really kind of crazy. So it's really hard to say sometimes, like even the harmonica, the minute I went out again and talking about that harmonica, it just does not, it doesn't want to be touched. It doesn't even want to be looked at really. So I just leave it alone. And so I've noticed on these shows before, when I do interviewing or people are interviewing me, once you get to some of these really sensitive topics or whatever, there are certain energies that don't want you to be heard. So they'll do what they can to disrupt a program or whatever the case may be, just to kind of quiet you down. So
Exactly. And that made me realize, like, so I think they know the future. I
oh yeah.
really do. Because I mean, so they probably could see that you would be talking about that in the movie. And so they tried to stop. Like, I think that's what happened here. They tried to stop everything. They tried to stop us from being able to talk like we're talking now. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. That's just how that works. It's like the mafia on the other side.
Well,
If you
that
think
and
about it.
Mercedes right now, I don't know if it's full moon tonight or
It
not.
is.
Yeah, I've seen all day today. There's been a lot of weird stuff happening today, just in general. And I know a lot of people can probably relate to this. And so, where is this all coming? What is it? What's happening? Is the energy fields a little bit stronger, weaker? I don't know. But I just know that, there's no reason why, we should be having blippets. But you know what? Full moon, anything can happen. So,
When I work in the mental health industry and addiction recovery industry, and this, when the moon's full, everything goes crazy. Everything goes haywire. There's all kinds of disruptions, you know, not just where I work, but disruptions in my life, disruptions in the energy field around. There's times that I walk outside and the sun has a different look, and the energies have shifted and the vibrations have changed. And you can just sense with anticipation something in the air that's off, something that's not right. And, I've been sensing that for some time, for many, many, many months. And it seems like time's accelerated, like
mm,
someone pushed the gas on the accelerator and time is just really speeding up. And it just boggles my mind. And I've asked all kinds of people that I work with, people around me, people that I minister to, and they say that they experience the same thing. Um, but it's funny the things we go through. I ministered about this past Sunday out of the book of Job, and how that before Satan could ever attempt or harm Job's property or Job's body, he had to get permission. And there's been times in my life, Dr. Kelly and Mercedes, that I felt like that I was God's big target. Like he painted a big green target on my back and said, "Here, hit center mass, attack." Um, but it's amazing how that God always sends His guardian angels, His watchers to watch over us, and He watched over you, and that He saved your life, from this experience. But I believe that these spirits, they live outside of time and space. They exist outside of time and space, and they can see the whole picture just like God can. And even though they see our purpose and they know we have a divine purpose, they try to stop that. And luckily, thankfully, they wasn't able to stop you while you were in another country. Luckily, you had divine intervention. But as a person that provides therapy for people to have trauma, what type of trauma has this caused for you in the days following that experience?
mm. Yeah, that's a good question. My husband and I had pretty much on the spot some pretty intense trauma. It took us a few hours. We went to, starting with that experience, we actually went on a hop on, hop off bus. And all I did was I just stared out the window. And that's all he did was he was behind me and stared out the window. And I just said, I need to sit somewhere where I am like completely like a vegetable right now for what just happened so I can process this. And all I saw in my head was a replay of the facial expression of the gentleman who tried to stop the car, who, of course, can you imagine, last minute gets in it and smashes right into a building. And then from after that point, though, in trying to come to conclusions or try to figure out what on earth just happened there, and wondered if Vincent was the one who was saved us, or maybe it was a guardian angel or something else. But the biggest trauma then hit us again when he received this message from this guy from Kansas City, and all of a sudden he says, imagine what it's, my husband said this, imagine what it's like to go to you get this message, and half the time they're spam. And for some reason, he felt like
Right.
opening it up, and he opens it up. And the very first thing he saw was his Uncle Vincent's picture. And then he read what this guy was saying. Nobody knew of that conversation. So when I came down from my office and asked him what was wrong with him when he came home, he told me, and he was very shaken by it. And I was very shaken by it, because we knew that nobody knew. I stood there, sizzled, asked the questions, and that. So from the trauma perspective of it, no one is ever going to be able to convince me that what we experienced, because he experienced it along with me. I saved his life, basically. I cared less about my own life I usually care more about everybody else's life. And so I've always been a warrior. And so you will see me take action really quickly. And so it makes me begin to wonder about reincarnation and what I might have been in a previous life, or what my intention or purpose is for this life. And I agree with you, by the way. Time is speeding up. I talk about this all the time. We're almost at Christmas again. It's like, wait a minute, we just got done celebrating Christmas and all these sort of things. Where's all this time going, and why is it going so fast? But what it does for me right now, though, is I am stronger in my belief system about the fact that there are energies out there that do see us, that do watch over us, that can be near us, that can still reside on objects. Not necessarily the harmonica is haunted, but the energy that surrounded that harmonica is still very much alive. And so that's why I just kind of leave it alone and I talk to it. It's so crazy. I don't normally talk to things, but I'm sitting here talking to this harmonica, and it's like, how weird. But, for some reason, it's okay if I touch it, and I am very gentle with it. So I don't know. It's interesting though. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm strong in my beliefs. I guess that's really the short answer.
You know what would be cool is if that harmonica belonged to your husband's uncle,
Oh, well,
or
I know.
or the
Yeah.
other guy, the person from Kansas City that wrote. Wouldn't that be wonder what? Wow, what a story!
Yeah.
Wonder if you could find out.
No, well, the thing is, it came from the German side, the Nazi side.
Mhm.
And so it could have been something that recognized his energy on me, because remember, I sizzled. And so his energy, I took in his energy. And so because of that, I felt like I had something of his uncle or something else touching me. And then it's like something recognized it and said, oh, yeah, there you are. And it's just like, it wasn't coming after me per se, but it might have been coming after the energy that was still on my person, right? So but no, it was definitely a German opposition side used by the opposition harmonica. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we have a Trish is Trish from Warrior Mode, and also from Explaining the Unexplainable, and she listens to the other show too, the fast prayer and fasting show. So she said that she has seen dead people since she was age 5, so she knows the feeling. And yeah, so Trish is awesome. We met her in Connecticut. Bishop Joshua, you remember Trish, right?
Why, yeah, of course.
She's in the demonic.
Yeah,
So,
Trish is awesome.
yeah. So do you think, Kelly, Dr. Kelly, like that people that children, because you talked about the children in my documentary, which hopefully will come out next year, Shadows of the Desert. So, but that's something that you've had a lot of experience in, is children's spirits. You were a child when this started with you. Do you think that this is something that happens to a lot of children, or just certain children?
Well, that's interesting that you say that or ask that, because I was listening to a show recently where a gentleman who apparently studies this stuff I don't know how he does, but he said that the majority of the children being born right now into our lifetime and on our planet are actually star seeds coming to try to save and or improve the planet to keep its well-being. We're going to put that on the shelf for the moment. I seem to attract ghost children. I have a very strange effect on little kids in and of itself, as well as dogs. I was interviewing a gal on my show recently. In fact, she's playing on Paraflix right now. Helen, if anyone wants to go and watch that one, she brings it up in the show. She said to me, she goes, your star family is right behind you. I see them right now. And nobody knows that I don't even talk about the fact that I'm a star seed, but the fact that she says you're a star seed child, I believe that there's a reason and a purpose for me. And I think it's the communication aspect. Yes. Do I believe that there's a lot of children that are sensitive? Yes. Do I know them? Yes. All of them? Not all of them, but a good majority between just before the age of 7, they do elicit, they can see dead people. They talk to imaginary friends they think are alive. Yeah, it's very real. But once they get past the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, they start getting more, not necessarily losing it, but just losing sight of what they had when they were younger. And so they get distracted like we do as adults. And so, yeah. So, yes, I do believe, but there are a lot of star seeds coming to our planet right now.
I've heard that for a long time. I've heard about the indigo children and different things like that. Just how they all. It's just, and then if you look at the time frames, like we all actually fit in the time frames. Or
Mhm.
I mean, my age. Josh is younger than me. I think you're younger than me too, Kelly. So, but I think in this from the '60s on, there's different groups. Is what they say.
Yeah. No, I'm
Interesting.
64. Mercedes, I'm 64. So you and I think are about,
You're just a
yeah.
little bit older than me.
Yes, by 1 month on the day.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm like 62 now, but I'm
Yeah,
62 now.
I know. Isn't that weird? I know. I know. Where's time gone?
I don't feel 62.
I don't either.
So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
I'm
Yeah.
25.
Are you 25? I've always wondered. You never looked a day over 30 to me. But that's okay, Joshua. Stay youthful. Stay youthful.
I'm
Yes,
trying to, but I'm trying to get into my youngest son, Mac, tells me I need to get into shape, and I always tell him, well, round's a shape. I mean, so I went to the gym last year and worked out and got my muscles and stuff back. I still got my muscles in my arms, but I just can't get, that table muscle out of the way. And I thought it was a problem with Melissa doing the laundry and the washer and dryer, but Melissa told me something that was a revelation to me. She said it's a refrigerator problem.
Oh,
So,
is that it?
yeah, I have to agree with that. It probably is. It's amazing. You touched on something about that car, or whatever that was in that car, being attracted to the energy that was on you. Negative energy wants to always destroy positive.
Yeah.
Positive vibrations, positive frequencies.
Yeah.
There's always a negative interjection. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a very powerful story. And there's a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, but there are probably some people that are going to listen to this program that maybe have had the same experience that you've had or something similar, but they've been afraid to talk about it. So maybe hearing you talk about it's going to empower them to be able to come forward and talk about it as well.
Well,
Mhm.
I think you're right, because literally that did happen to us. And like people knew that we had this haunted car because I was sharing all these crazy experiences. So that's one of the things that I haven't written about yet. And so that might be something for me to think about since you're talking about it. It's just so crazy. I've never really wrote about it, but it did happen. And it
Mhm.
was like I almost died several times being in this car. That it would just the wheel would just fall off. It was a perfectly good wheel, and I knew that thing was in the back when I brought it home. I knew it was there. When I was driving home, the steering wheel came apart. I mean, and then we did something happen. I don't remember. It was like so crazy. It was like messing up. But yeah, it was never ending. So I always felt like it was definitely possessed. Yeah. But made
I
me think
mean,
about
objects and all kinds of different. I mean, anything can be. I believe anything can be possessed, or whether it be for good or bad. Anything can be influenced by spirits. Excuse me, by the supernatural, whether it be benevolent or malevolent. Like we were talking when Kelly got kicked off there for a few moments. I've seen several UFOs this week.
Wow.
Just minding my own business, driving down the road and seeing them going across the sky, just gliding. And then there's the one that always is over top of my house. I seen 3 the other night. And I would have never believed it. I was raised in a home where you didn't talk about it. You didn't talk about ghosts. even though from a young age my life had been surrounded by things paranormal, otherworldly. Our basement was possessed by a spirit. You could hear it hiss at you every time you walked in the room. There's a lot of experiences in that old house we lived in, but when my dad saw it during COVID, and then he saw one the other day, um, he said it looked like something you'd see on Star Wars. So they're real. They're here, and the experiences like you had's real. People experience things like that every day. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was taboo to talk about. But today, I'm glad we've got platforms like your programs, like this program, like Coast to Coast. When I heard Art Bell for the first time, I fell in love because I always wanted to talk about all these things and always hear someone talk about these things, but there was no outlet, no way to do that except for me and my cousin Jeremy. And we would gather around the radio and listen to Art Bell every night, because he talked about the strange and the unusual. Well, here we are talking about what's no longer strange or unusual, but common now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the other thing that I need to add to that is that I'm going to give you just a quick example. So I was at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and my nephew was talking to me. He's probably 10th grade. And, he's now learning that his aunt is on these big, these shows, that kind of thing, right? TV and all this sort of thing. And then I showed him my Phenomena book, the one that I have with all the, the UFO and the Sasquatch and the black-eyed kid and the whole 10 yards. And he looked at my other nephew and he said to him, "What do you think about this stuff?" So he was questioning it, but I have to tell you that there are places that won't go near this stuff with a 10-foot pole. And so I had to tell him, I sent him my book for his birthday, and I had to tell him, you don't ask people about their opinions about this stuff, because if they haven't had an experience, they're not going to believe it's real. And I said, this is real. Everything in the book's real. But unfortunately, that's makes me a little nervous. A kid in 10th grade, and they're all ages, and some believe in it and some have had experiences, but I don't really know, because he was like, but that's because he's being sheltered also. And he is also being told not to talk or think about this stuff or even delve into it, even though Sasquatch is very real in his area. So, I think his parents are just afraid they'll get scared and all that sort of thing. So, I'm very grateful to the programs that are out there. I am.
And just tell them to watch this show, because this is a pretty mild, we're talking about it, but it's like when you think about all the experiences, these are all real. And thank you for having me be in that book. I love being in that book. Thank you so much. It's such amazing to be in that book.
Well, you're a great addition to the book. By the way, another one that I had in there asked me today. He thought it was a good read and everything. So your addition, in addition to everything that's in there, it just adds to it and makes it really. I can't say that people will believe us 100%. And I don't think we're even out to convince anyone that this stuff is real. They have to have their own experience in order to understand or start to understand this stuff or question it. But I'm just very happy for shows like yourselves and, things that we all do to try to communicate this stuff out a little bit more openly,
Well, it gives us an outlet too, to be able to talk about our experiences. And that's important. It's important to have a support group, a group of people that are like-minded that you can talk to, that you don't have to, that you can just share everything you've experienced. You don't have to candy coat, or you have to cut corners. You can tell the whole experience and not be afraid of being judged or, made fun of or anything like that. So I think it's important to be around people of like minds,
Yeah, it really helps, because they have, I can't tell you how many people said like I was crazy, when I was going through all that, and I'd never really been in the paranormal world, but I'm like, I am seeing this. And then as I was seeing, when I was, as my work, I really wasn't out talking publicly,
I know.
but the people I was around were understanding of what was going on. But when it went public, that's when it was kind of like I felt validated also, but because there were people that said, you're making this up or you're crazy. But
Right.
it's like, with all the proof now, with everything, is like, thank you. I wasn't making it up. It's validation. So being here with all of you and being able to share the story, yes, Kelly. And I know you went through that too. I know you
All my
definitely.
life. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All my life. And still do. Still do.
Well, I have one more question, Dr. Kelly.
Mhm.
And that question is this: what message would you leave for our audience, those who may be experiencing the unexplained but fear ridicule or misunderstanding?
Well, I had that question asked also at a conference. And because the gal who asked it was quite nervous about, she said, this is what she said. She said, I try to tell this stuff to my friends and they don't believe me because they've never had the experience. There's going to be times when people are going to be very judgmental. I live it to this day. I don't even try to bring this stuff up. But when I do, I'm very confident about my story. And if people want to look at me otherwise, so be it. I guess the thing is that sometimes people are a trial and error in our life. There are some that the minute you bring it up, just like I did this past weekend at a very large conference in front of people that had no idea who I was, the whole room went silent. They weren't chiming in, they weren't adding, they were on the basically the skeptical side. So I was very cautious about how I addressed things that I addressed. So that's the first thing I would say is be simplified and don't overdo it. If you feel or sense you're in a group or around skeptical people, it's not worth your energy. That's the first thing. The second thing is you have quite a few of us now in the field who have experienced a lot of this stuff. We get it, we understand it, we live it. And so reach out to somebody who has. You'll feel a lot better sharing your story, and you don't have to worry about trying to convince somebody else, because for me, it's not worth it. So just find a safe haven. And if you do run into the skeptics, keep it short, keep it simple, and you're going to find the subject being dropped anyway. So
Very
Wow.
good words. Very good words. Powerful words.
It's so awesome. I was going to say that we've got Trisha said she was at work and people asked what was wrong with me because I looked like I hadn't slept in days. So finally I came out and told them about the haunting. One of my coworkers came in the next day with Sage, and she couldn't believe that they believed me. She's had help from Bill Bean. Bill Bean's removed the entities from her house. So thank God, thank goodness for Bill Bean. Um, yeah, it's very important. I mean, it's, we can feel so alone, and then you're already scared because all these strange things are happening. And then you have to learn how to find that strength. And that's why it's good also then to watch shows like The Unseen Realm, where you have Archbishop Ron, Bishop Joshua, and then Dr. Adrian, Dr. Glenn, that will help you understand some of those really traumatic events that happen. Have you ever had to call in like an exorcist in anything that you've ever experienced? So that's another question. I know we're running a little bit late, but I was just wondering.
I'll try to keep it short. I did contact Bill Bean when I had an experience in the movie theater watching the Pope's Exorcist at the end where Russell Crowe was going at that kid. I started to levitate off my chair. Yes, I levitated probably about, I'd say about a half inch. My husband didn't notice. The people behind me didn't notice. I started to contort. My mouth started to go open. I electrified so much, like 1,000-watt charge. I was just absolutely going crazy. And then when things settled down and we went back home, I asked my husband to do some holy water work on me, and I started to burn all over. And that's when I called Bill Bean, and I was asking him what would have provoked that in and within me or around me or near me when I had that experience, because I wasn't expecting that. And my whole body was just absolutely under, I don't think it was under attack, but it was just absolutely, you could have put a cord in me and lit up a lamp. I was so electrified. So I don't know, but I talked to Bill Bean about that one. So,
Wow. I haven't heard that one.
yeah. 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 You can levitate. It is possible to levitate. I've done it 3 times.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know
3 times.
Archbishop Ron's talked about levitating, but wow, God, that's
It's pretty fascinating.
thank
We're
you.
all energy. Remember, we're energy.
Mm-hmm.
Connected to those frequencies, and there's a lot of things that we can do that we've never really tapped in or been taught to tap into the power. Jesus called it virtue. It did have a physical effect on him as well. He said he felt it leave his body. It affected him. So we can have that divine virtue working in us too.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful. Thank you to Bill. Thank you to Bill for helping you. Thank you to Bill for helping me. And thank you, Bill, for helping Trish and all these other people. That was great that you were able to talk to him.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we better, we'll hope you can come back again. We'll go ahead and put you on the books for a few months from now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
What's your plans? I know that's all the holiday time, but do you have some last plans for this year before next year that you're going to be doing?
Well, I'm done with my conferences for the year. So that just finished up. I'm finishing up all my podcast work for the year. Next year is a new year and hopefully revival of that. I do not plan to write any more books right now. That last one about killed me again. Writing a book is not really easy to do. It can actually take the, the wind out of your sails. So right now, no, I've got people asking me to speak at their conferences, but nothing is written in stone until we get some things figured out. So just finishing up the podcast for the year. That's what I'm doing right now.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
Yes.
And thank you for having us be in these shows. It's been such a wonderful thing. I just so happy. Well, go ahead.
I was just say very pleased to have both of you. So
we're glad to have you too.
Bishop Joshua, would you like to close the show?
I sure can. Dr. Kelly, thank you for sharing your time, your wisdom, and light with us tonight. Your voice reminds us that mystery isn't meant to frighten us. It's meant to invite us. And the more we explore, the more we understand ourselves. And to our listeners around the world, keep asking questions, keep seeking truth, and keep explaining the unexplainable. And good night, and we love you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.